Okay.
Hi there. It's good to see you all. If we could just take a moment and maybe just do mutual invitation and introduce ourselves since we're a small enough group to do that. I think that would be lovely to kind of hear once who you are, the name of your community of faith, and the city where you are, and yeah, maybe just those two things. So I'll start us off, BJ. I am the rector at St. Mark's in Newaygo and have been working with CCD for the last several years and helped launch it here in the diocese. And I'm very excited to see you all this evening. And Joy, I would like to invite you.
There you go. Joy Foster. I'm on the vestry at St. Philip's Episcopal Church in Beulah, and I live in Frankfurt. Uh, I'll invite Paul.
I'm Paul Brunel. I'm the rector at Christ Episcopal Church in Owasso, and I'm also long-term supply at St. Paul's in Corona. And I will invite Renee.
You are muted.
Know that. Yeah, I am Renee Howell, and I'm from St. Peter's in Montague, Michigan, and I'm on the vestry as well. And how about Linda Ash?
Hi, I'm from St. Paul's Corona. I'm a retired deacon. Been there for quite a few years. And I will invite, is it BJ?
Thank you. I went. I would like to invite
Oh,
Kipton.
What name did you say?
I said your name. Thank
Oh,
you.
Kipton. Kipton. Yeah. I'm Kip Moravec. I'm also from St. Philip's with Joy. I'm a brand new vestry member, and I just happen to be in uh, Texas right at the moment. So I'll be
Thanks,
back as soon as I can.
thanks
And
be
I
to
guess
God for Zoom so you could be with us.
um, I guess I'll go with Christopher.
Oh, let's see. Make sure I'm not muted. Hi, everybody. My name is Chris Lochner, and I'm a member of St. John's Parish here in Midland, and been on the vestry, been a warden, was parish administrator for a short time before we um, had Alyssa apply, and she graciously took the job of rector. We're very happy to have her, Alyssa Anderson. And currently I'm on the diocesan council and doing a number of other things.
Who would you like to
Let's see.
invite, Chris?
Yes, who's left? Let's see. Rona?
Oh, yeah.
Renee went.
I've already gone. How about Nicoa?
Nicola? Yes, sure.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nicoa. I am also I serve on the vestry, also a new vestry member at St. John's Episcopal Church in Midland, Michigan. So live in Saginaw, so I'm taking the meeting from there though. And let me invite Valerie.
Hi, Valerie Fargo, retired clergy. I live in Midland, and I'm involved with the Academy for Vocational Leadership, where I'm doing some teaching in my retirement. Chris Vildeer.
Hi, I'm Chris Feldier. I'm the rector at St. John's in Sturgis, Michigan. And I see Bob has not come on yet to tell us about himself.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Bob. I'm from St. Paul's in Saginaw, vestry member and newly appointed senior warden. So I'm happy to be here.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you all. I appreciate you. And Tracy, we know you, but if you want to say anything, you may.
I'm Tracy Little. I serve as the Director for Vocational Discernment and Equipping, which mostly means that I walk with lay people, ordained people, and those seeking ordination to help them live more fully into their baptismal covenant and into the person and then to the leader that God has called them to be. And so as part of my role, I'm involved with CCD. I serve as a trainer with BJ when she runs the weeks in the summertime, and you'll learn more about that later. Thanks, BJ.
Yes, thank you. And thank you all for the gift of your time and your presence this evening. You are a gift to this space and to our ministry here in the diocese. So thank you very much. So, a bit of background first on the College for Congregational Development. It was founded in 2009 in the Episcopal Diocese of Olympia, which is in Western Washington. And it was established to train lay and clergy leaders in strengthening congregation health and vitality. So, I think one of the first things I want to kind of explore together is who are the people who participate in this thing called the College for Congregational Development, or CCD for short, across the Episcopal Church? As I just said, it's lay and ordained leaders. We are members of small rural congregations. We're members of mid-sized churches. We're members of large urban churches. Some of our congregations have music programs and a multitude of formation opportunities. Some have full-time clergy. Some of our congregations are small but mighty in their outreach. Some do not have clergy. Some of our buildings are in tip-top shape, and a few of our buildings are maybe crumbling a little around the edges. We have older folks, we have younger folks and kids. We have new ideas. We have some old habits. We have a lot of love and a lot of hope. We also have a bit of fear and worry. We remember our past and we have some wonderings about our future. We might have a few regrets, but we've learned a few things too. We, generally speaking, want our spiritual communities to be healthy, to be vibrant, and to be expressive of our unique identities. So, as CCD, we gather to learn, to connect, to return back home to our churches with renewed energy and skills so that we might lead more effectively in those communities that we love. What is congregational development? Congregational development is the development of all congregations, no matter what the size or location or condition, into becoming more faithful, more healthy, and more effective communities of faith. These are communities that have an understanding of their unique reason for being, that are connected to and expressive of the tradition that they're a part of in the Episcopal Church. These are communities that are either sustainable or working toward greater sustainability and looking to perhaps gain some tools and some skills for how they might do that. And these are communities that are really committed to fostering a culture of transparency, of courage, and of collaboration. This summer, across 10 dioceses, there will be 12 CCD gatherings. These are Sunday to Friday gatherings. There'll be 2 in New York, there'll be 2 in Olympia, and then 1 each in Maryland, Southeast Florida, Michigan, Indianapolis, Ohio, and Southern Ohio, Atlanta, and right here in the Great Lakes. In our diocese, we have had 21 congregations, plus diocesan staff that have participated in CCD over the last 3 years. And I just want to give a shout out to those congregations. Church of the Mediator in Harbert, Grace Church Port Huron, Grace Church Traverse City, Holy Family Blue Water, Sudanese Grace Grand Rapids, St. Albans in Bay City, St. Andrews in Big Rapids, St. Augustine's, or did they say Augustine's?
Augustine's.
That's what I thought. Augustine's in Benton Harbor, St. Paul's in St. Joe, and then a handful of St. John's, one in Dryden, one in Ionia, one in Midland, and one in Sturgis. Few of you represented here tonight. St. Mark's in Newaygo, St. Matthew's in Saginaw, St. Paul's, one in Flint, Gladwin, Greenville, and Harson's Island, St. Mary's Cadillac, and St. Thomas Battle Creek. So all over our diocese, these 21 churches plus diocesan staff have participated in CCD already, at least 1 year. So CCD is a 2-year program. It's divided into the curriculum is divided into year A and B. And for us here in the Great Lakes, the year that we have it might feel like a year for a minute. The week that we have designated for CCD this summer is July 19 to 24. So July 19 to 24. That will be in Midland, and I'll give you some more information on that in a little while. Let me just pause right there and see if there's anything that I've said so far that you have a question or comment about. Okay, I'll keep moving right along. A key component of the CCD curriculum is something that we call core models. Now, models are lenses that allow us to look at our congregations and see once where we are and where we're headed and maybe where we want to be headed. When you think of lenses, I just want to invite you to think of eyeglasses, for example. So I have 3 pair of glasses that I need to help me see. My main pair is a progressive prescription that helps me see both far away when I drive and a little bit up close. For instance, when I'm reading my prayer book in church. About 5 years ago, I noticed that I was struggling to see clearly when I was reading a book, especially page after page after page after page. And so I needed to add another pair of glasses with lenses that help me with reading books and computer work. Can anybody relate to what I'm saying? Does anybody else have more than one pair of glasses? No? Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay, good. Okay. Well, about 2 years ago, I found that the computer work was really straining my eyes, even with the reading glasses. Those reading glasses just weren't cutting it for looking at the screen several hours a day. And so I needed to add yet another set of lenses with a different prescription to help me with online reading and online working. All 3 pair of my glasses help me see clearly, but they help me see clearly in different ways and in different circumstances. Models in the CCD curriculum are like those lenses that help us to see our congregation. They help us to see our congregations with clarity. They help us to see how things are going right now and to tell truth about how things are right now. And they also help us to see and discern how God might be inviting us to take a new step in how we can be faithful and effective and healthy. In the CCD curriculum, again, over a 2-year period, there are 7 core models. and 5 change processes that we work with. We teach these models and these processes over the 2 years. Some of the models, just like my glasses, are more conducive to certain kind of activities and skills, and they differ from others. So, for instance, there are some models that really help us with leadership and strategy and really bolstering up our leadership and our strategies. And then there are other models that help us collect data and assess data. Those are different lenses that we use. And then there are other models that we use to explore formation opportunities, particularly in the Episcopal and Anglican tradition. And what are some ways that we can take next step in our spiritual formation? So, in order to kind of help introduce one of those core models, Tracy's going to take us through one called Gather, Transform, and Send.
Thanks, BJ. I'm going to share my screen a couple of different times as I tell you about this model. But I want to start with a story. My parents in London, Ontario, at one point invited me to attend their church with them. There was something, my mom played handbells, and I might have been invited. I can't remember why I was invited, but I might have been invited to hear my mom play handbells during the church service. And I'm always up for a handbell concert. They're amazing instruments, I think. And so I went to church, and I was welcomed when I came in the door. Some people knew who I was because I kind of floated in and out with things at different times because my mom worked there. But most people did not. Yes, hooray, handbells. Most people did not know who I was. So I was welcomed as a visitor when I came in, and I was handed a bulletin and not told very much, just handed a bulletin and welcome, and I found my seat. And then I went down to coffee hour, and my mother told me, now we have special colored coffee mugs for visitors. It was a pink coffee cup. And so I had to make sure I got a visitor's coffee cup. Now, in my mind, I thought that was because that would mark me out as a visitor and people would come and talk with me and tell me about the church. What I think it really meant was, that's a visitor, let's go in the other direction. Not one person spoke to me, not one. It was the most weird experience of my life. And that's one of the reasons why I love this model. So I have a question to ask of you all. And do you all know how to use the chat feature? At the bottom of your screen, there's a little chat bubble. If you push that, you'll get a window. And I want you to answer a question, and you can answer it in this space, in the chat space. How is it? What is the one way that you ended up in the congregation where you are now? How did you end up there? There's no wrong answer to that. Someone invited me, says BJ. Invited by a neighbor. Family attended since I was a child, so that was the place to go. My daughter brought me. When I moved from Texas, it was the only Episcopal church near me. That's a very good reason to show up. So you had to do some work to find it. Anybody else want to answer in there? Oh, I'm gonna. Invited by a member. I was assigned there. I began serving as a choir member through a partner program with CMU while I was getting my master's. That's wonderful. I was invited to my home congregation by my then boyfriend, and it was a totally different tradition than I was used to. And I was put in the choir on day one, coming from a church that doesn't really do the sit, stand, kneel thing. So I just want to share this screen. This is a model. This gather, transform, send is in 3 different sections, and we concentrate on different things in each of those sections. So you can even think of a liturgical service, right? We gather together. There's a gathering rite. And in the center of the service, we hear the word, we hear a sermon, we say some prayers. Those are all activities that help to transform us. Baptism, just regular Eucharist, all of it is meant for transformation. And at the end of the service, we are sent out, back out into the world. And because the church is the one place that exists for people who are not its members. We have lives outside of the church and we live our lives there. And then we come back and do it all again. Gather, we separate into, we have several elements of gather. I have to find the right screen here. I have too many things open on my computer. So this is how we think about gather. We break it up into 4 different areas: inviting, greeting, orienting, and incorporating. And inviting is just what it sounds like. It's inviting somebody to come and join you. Many of you wrote in the chat that is how you found yourself at your church. You were invited to show up one Sunday, or invited to be a member. And you can invite in many different ways. So there's all kinds of different things. What are some of the ways that you have seen invite happen in your congregations? Not just the one you're in now. How have you seen invite happen? You can unmute and just popcorn your answers because I can't see you all.
I saw a posting on a Facebook event.
Oh, cool. So an online invitation. In my home congregation, especially for special services, we would blanket the neighborhood with pamphlets. We would go door to door. We would have an event where we would just all take a stack and a street and drop them off, and then we would come back and have hot chocolate and cookies or whatever. Are there any others that anybody wants to share? Greeting is the second thing. So once you've invited somebody and they walk in the door, we need to greet them. And who in your church is responsible for greeting?
We have a committee of greeters at St. John's.
Okay, a committee of greeters. And do they function mostly to welcome people into the worship space?
Yes.
Okay. So teams of people that welcome people into the worship space. What else? I think every church that I have visited, because part of my job, I'm not in one church, I'm in everywhere. And I go from a different place every week. And there's always something called coffee hour. And so there are coffee hour hosts that put on a meal, or sometimes it's a meal, and sometimes it's just coffee and a snack. But there are teams of people that are responsible for hosting in that kind of a place. Anything else that helps with greeting? In every congregation I have been involved in, I've tried to train the congregation to be aware in worship of who looks lost, and to just kind of come up beside them and either hand them the book with the right page, because, the Episcopal Church service is the weirdest thing ever. We don't know how to count from the number 1. We count from the letter S. It's not even the letter A in the hymn book. And we don't start on page 1 in anything. And so it can be confusing for visitors who are new to the Episcopal Church. And so I train people to watch for people who look kind of lost and kind of saddle up and just unobtrusively help them through the service. So in some ways, everybody is a greeter in that kind of a situation. Once somebody's been there for a while, then we want to orient them when it looks like they really want to become more involved. We want them to understand who we are. We want them to understand where things are. What the heck is a sacristy? If someone says, well, can you take that to the sacristy? It doesn't sound like any room I know in a building. Well, I do, but it doesn't sound like a normal place. So we want to orient people as to who we are, who our congregation is, why we're here, and why we do what we do. And we can do that in lots of different ways. Sometimes what we want to do when we orient people is just simply to touch base with them after they've been around for once or twice. Sometimes we want to have newcomers gatherings and classes to sort of help them understand, what does it mean to be Episcopalian? What does it mean to be here? Who are we as a church? We want to orient them to the building, and we can do that with signage. Ever try to find a bathroom in a strange church building? I can tell you I get lost in them all the time. And maybe that's just me. And then we want to help them gain a better, deeper understanding of what it means to be Episcopal and how we fit into the wider Episcopal Church and into the global church. And we want them to feel connected to other people. So this is where you want maybe some people to get to know people at coffee hour and then to be the connector, right? They don't have to be the one that does everything, but, oh, you have an interest in collecting coins. Oh, so-and-so over here also collects coins. And then you bring them together and help them to find one another so they have a common interest. And then as they become more and more involved, we want to incorporate them. We want to knit them into the congregation so they're not the newcomer, right? That they're one of us. It's interesting, when I did my cross-cultural unit when I was in seminary, I was down in New Mexico and we did a walking street tour of Santa Fe. And they kept saying, well, the newcomers. And so I said, well, how long have the newcomers been here? Oh, about 100 years. And I thought, well, my goodness, when do they get to be here? And we're like that a lot of the time. I bought a house in Marysville when my immigration things got all sorted out, and I knew I was going to be here in the States. And I bought the house. It was never my house. It was always not even the people before me, two people before me that lived in there forever. It was their house. And I actually did ask a couple of times, when does it become my house? I hadn't been incorporated into the town. I was the newcomer. I didn't even live in my own house. I lived in somebody else's house. So we don't want people to do that in our churches. We want them to feel like they belong, and we incorporate them. So there's all kinds of ways that we can do that. Some of that is liturgical, baptism, confirmation, reception, all of those ways that we transfer membership. There are rites in the church of welcoming newcomers into our midst as new people. You can find those in the Book of Vocational Services. And there's invitations to make a financial pledge to the congregation. That's always a touchy one, I think, because nobody says, well, do you want a pledge card? Right? We don't want to be the one. And yet that's the one thing that makes somebody feel like they really belong. So we need to find ways that make it easy for that person to ask or for us to ask for them. And I would often do that when it was getting to be close to the annual pledge campaign, or when people looked like they were staying for a while. A lot of you said that you're new vestry members. That's one of those things, right? You have been incorporated. You are part of the leadership now in the church. You've been incorporated into that community of faith. So I'm going to stop sharing now. Anybody have any questions about invite, greet, orient, and incorporate, the gather portion of Gather, Transform, Send? So one of the things that we do at the College for Congregational Development is we do teach this in the big group, and then we send you off into smaller groups where you get to work with the models. And we're going to do that a little bit tonight. I'm going to send you into 2 breakout rooms. And the question that, BJ, do you want to say the question, or am I going to try and muddle my way through?
Oh,
I'm
sure.
gonna-
Yeah, I can gladly do it. So, I was thinking as we were thinking about this model and where we are in the liturgical year, that in just a few weeks we're going to have folks show up at our congregations on Easter, right? Either at the vigil or on Sunday morning, Easter Sunday morning, and they may be familiar, right, with the Episcopal Church, and they may not be familiar with the Episcopal Church. They may be very at home in a Christian setting, or that might be a totally new experience for them. So, thinking about those particular aspects of gather, of inviting, greeting, orienting, and incorporating, um, you know, depending on, of course, where the people are, in that process is going to depend on how we connect with them. So, what are just some ideas that we can brainstorm together about how we can gather those folks in the most welcoming and inviting way, without shame, without, like, you've probably seen this on social media, like a meme that says, "Oh, and by the way, we're here, 50 other weeks of the year besides Christmas and Easter," right? I get that. It's a little funny, it's a little tongue in cheek, right? But it also is a little harsh. It's like, okay, so let's trust that people are going to be with us in whatever way they're able to be with us when they're with us. How can we help gather them in to our parish community? What are some ways that you do that? What are some ways that you have done that in the past? And maybe what's a way that you haven't that you want to try?
We're going to give you 15 minutes in your breakout rooms. There will be 5 of you in each room. And when we come back, we're going to ask you to share the kinds of ideas that you had in your breakout room. Anybody have any questions before I open up all the rooms and send you away? All right, thanks. We'll see you in 15 minutes. Well, okay. Welcome back, everybody. So would you share some of your ideas? What did you come up with?
I'll go. One of the more pedantic is transitioning to a all-encompassing bulletin that has all the parts in it, all the announcements, all the things in one booklet, if you will, that comes out fresh every Sunday. And it has really made a difference not only for the elderly members of the congregation. This congregation, as Tracy knows, is in the 70+ category, but is also a really great tool for new people because it's all there. And it's also a great tool because members can come sit with them and say, "Hey, we're on page 3 in the bulletin," and it helps. And the music is in there, and how to come up for communion. All of the bits are in there. I think this week I wrote something on Saint Fotini because I'm preaching on the woman from the Samaritan woman. That's at the end, so they can go home. That's a little added bonus that goes home with them at the end. But these things are all in one booklet, and it has improved the ability of our folks to reach out from the pews, but also to stop dropping paper.
It's a lot to juggle.
It's a lot.
Thank you.
Other ideas that came about that were new to you or surprising to you or something that you want to take home and try?
Well, someone made the very obvious observation that completely I missed was that, our guest book, when we have that laying around, and I would immediately think of addresses, but someone informed me, and wisely so, that, addresses are kind of obsolete. We need their email address as opposed to the address. And so that was something that I sort of, that makes a lot of sense when I think about it. So I think
Okay.
that's pretty wise.
Thanks, Paul.
Yeah.
So this might sound crazy because it seemed like everyone does it, and this is my first time ever hearing about it. But coffee hour, I think that's like a cool thing, and I'm like, maybe I should ask at our church. Maybe that's something we should start trying to do. I like
Cool.
that.
Excellent. Thank you, Bob. Others? Go ahead, Nicola. Oh, okay. You look like you were raising your hand. I'm sorry.
Well, we in our church in Texas, we had a big break the fast after the Saturday night service, and it was a chance for everybody to mingle and see each other and talk. And in our church now, it's much, much smaller. I've not been to Easter Vigil at St. Philip's, so I don't know what they do afterwards, but that's what we did in Texas. And in St. Philip's, it would be good for new people because we're such a small communion, about 38 every Sunday, that we know who the new people are.
They can't hide.
Yeah.
What I used to do at the vigil is I would host a vigil reception. And I was really careful to ask everybody who gave up something for Lent to let me know what that something was. And if it was doable, I would provide it. I said, don't give up scotch and want that. That's not going to happen.
It would be nice beer for me, I would think. Yeah.
But people did, and they would let me know, and I would make sure, oh, you gave up chocolate. Okay, I'll get some chocolate, make sure that's on the table. Or you gave up sweets. Chocolate is a sweet, but other things like that.
Or I gave up my Corvette. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would do. I'd provide one of those. I might have actually done that and got a little toy car and put it on the table just to be fun. Any other ideas go ahead, Christopher. Chris?
Yeah, one of the things that I really love that Rona mentioned, and given the fact that in her location she has visitors, especially in the summer months, is to have offer a Saturday breakfast for those individuals. And as people, may be coming back, maybe they'd like to get involved in helping, with that breakfast at some point, So I thought that was an excellent suggestion.
Go ahead, Ron.
Just to clarify, the breakfast is school year, not summer. But
okay. Sorry.
But what it is, it's an open to the whole community. People
Yes,
from
okay.
other churches come often. And at the same time, we have a second blessing table. So if there's something they need, shampoo, gloves, depending on the time of year, that's always available too. So it's really for our community. And we have plenty of people from other churches that come regularly, and they come and help out too. But it is a very good social connection with the church being the heart of it.
Very cool. The other neat thing about that is the collaborative spirit, that the church has, with the community. And I think we're finding that that's absolutely essential today for us to look at.
Excellent.
One thing I learned shortly after coming to St. Mark's in Newaygo was so we don't have any like advertising budget per se, right? But somebody told me that the local community paper, the free local community paper for Christmas and Easter will allow churches to advertise for free when their religious services are.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, we wouldn't have money to do that otherwise, right? But there's 2 times a year that we're in the local paper because it didn't take anything except for an email for me to say, St. Mark's Church is having, liturgy at such and such a time and such a whatever, and all are welcome and da da da. So it was easy. It was kind of the invitation, right, part of gather. And it was a unique opportunity at that time of year. So I don't know if there anything in your communities that might have that, but it might be worth checking out local things and if they offer anything for free.
Mhm.
And sometimes the local TV stations will have, like, not the ones on the cable, but the ones that are operated through a school or something like that will do that. I know I've been in communities where it's not been a regular, I mean, they're on the radio, I guess, but they would have an offering, something like that.
Mhm. An idea that I did bring up that I think is something to be cognizant of when things happen in your communities. And I'll give you an example one example that we had back in August of last year. We had a physician's assistant who passed away very young or died very young at 36 years old. And in fact, my husband and I had Eric as our primary care person for 7 years. And it was a very large, needless to say, he was part of the McLaren system, a very large funeral service. We actually had a memorial service for him. Um, the unfortunate thing for sure is that he died, but the way he died, it was a suicide. And it really moved a lot of people to attend that liturgy. And from that liturgy, we had a few people that looked to the church for guidance and, looking to become members of St. John's. And I have to say, it was the largest liturgy that we've had, certainly since, the 10 years that we've been members at St. John's. And we had close to 200 people for that event. But, once again, to be aware and maybe move even in a little bit more intentional way in dealing with situations like that um, can influence your church, is a good thing.
Yeah, and being aware, that makes me think too, that sometimes when you have an event, something like that, having some trauma response, mental health people available to answer questions or having pamphlets around on suicide, and those kinds of things, so that you're paying attention to the people that you're welcoming into your space differently.
Mhm.
I think that's a really grand idea. Anything else anybody wants to share? BJ, can you share more about the nuts and bolts of CCD?
You bet. Thank you. And thank you everyone for your participation. So just a quick reminder, the date for us for CCD this year is July 19 through 24. Couple things on expectations as far as what you can expect. The college is designed in the curriculum to help equip people with knowledge and skills at 3 levels. So there'll be some work for us as individuals, and then our work as a team that comes, congregational team, and then our system back at our congregation. So you'll learn different things about, hopefully, about yourself and yourself as a leader, about working with your team, and then things about your congregation as well. Those 3 kinds of levels. As Tracy mentioned earlier, there is theory, there is application exercises and an experiential learning. There's planning, there's doing, and then there's evaluating at-home projects as well. A question comes up of who should we invite to join our team. People with a keen interest, like yourselves, in the health of your congregation, people who have a capacity to learn and engage, and then a real strong desire to bring the content home to their congregation. This isn't like a 5-day retreat, and then I'm just gonna, leave it alone. First of all, it's not a retreat. It's a fair amount of work. They're long days. I don't want to lead you astray or not let you know that. We have breakfast together, and then we jump right in with morning prayer, and we're off to the races, and we go through evening prayer and dinner. And that includes breakout sessions, that includes plenary sessions. It includes time to share our stories with each other. But it is called college intentionally, and that it's not a retreat for congregational development. So just want to be really upfront about that. That said, there's lots of opportunities to get to know folks, to collaborate, to network with other churches. That's one of the biggest benefits of the week, just right there, is just getting to know not only folks from perhaps your congregational team better, and work more closely, but hear the stories of other churches in our diocese, hear both their struggles as well as their joys and their successes in ministry, and to share ideas. We're not meant to do this work alone, and so it's good to do that together. If there are clergy associated with your parish, they should be part of the congregational team. A team of 3 people is a great goal to have, as 3 people can bounce ideas off of each other, work together, and then have a really good opportunity to go back and present to the parish and help incorporate some things that they've learned. Now, having said that, a parish may send 1 or 2 folks, and that's totally fine. And that has worked for some churches as well, very well. So just want to throw that out there. Congregations who've participated in the past are encouraged and welcome to enroll new participants so that they continue to grow their congregational development. So this is not meant to be like a one and done, like my church did that. We did that for 2 years and now we're done. But it's to include more people in it and to develop that common language as we're seeking to grow. Teams are usually come from a single congregation. However, we do accept collaborative teams, particularly interested in if there's a church in your mission region that you are interested in partnering with in a ministry opportunity. It would make complete sense for you to have a combined team from your church and that church, okay? Especially if there's a common goal to we want to offer some formational opportunities together, for example. So let's see how we can work with this. As far as the components of the training, as I mentioned, there's the plenary sessions, there's experiential learning. All team members participate in order to graduate in 2 years of curriculum. So it's 1 year each summer. Year A and year B is how the curriculum is divided up. There is an abbreviated required reading list. And then there are a couple of projects that the congregational team will work on. There's also a core models exam, which sounds, it might sound a little intimidating, but you have all of the information up front. You have 2 years to prepare for it if you want, and you can take it as many times as you want to. So that will happen at the end of your second year. So where do we meet and where do we sleep? We meet thanks to the gracious generosity of St. John's Midland. All of our training happens at St. John's. We stay at Northwood University Apartments, which is about a 6 or 7 or maybe 10, depending on how fast you drive, commute away from the church. So the apartments, folks have, they're 2 to 4 bedroom apartments. Each person has their own small room. There are shared bathrooms. The linens tend to be a little lacking, so we've encouraged folks to take an extra blanket if they'd like, because they're a little thin. But they're also air-conditioned apartments, and there are refrigerators in there. There aren't pots and pans and things like that, but there are places to store food if you want to bring some of your own food as well. The registration cost, because of increasing prices and because we are seeking to make CCD into a more economically sustainable endeavor in our diocese, which is important. The rate for a team of either 1, 2, or 3 people is increasing this year to $1,500. So if you bring 1 person or if you bring 3 people, it's $1,500, right? That covers the curriculum costs, it covers the materials, the meals, the accommodations, everything is included. For those congregations that are returning, we are able to work with you because that is a price increase. The last introductory prices that we had for the first 3 years was $900. We realize that this is a significant increase. So if that is prohibitive for either second or even first timers, I just want to invite you to have a conversation with me, and I'll put my contact information here in the chat. And we will work with you to see if there's anything we can do to help make it possible. Okay. Payments, well, the registration will be online. That's going to open up soon. Rachel's working on that right now. The deadline to register your team is May 30. And it'll show like on Eventbrite, it'll say registration is free because else we have to collect it through credit cards and that kind of thing, or Apple Pay or anything online. And because it's a significant amount of money, we're going to bill you instead of having anybody do that online and having to come up with that kind of money in that format. So there'll be a moment of delusion when you click register and it says free. Know that an invoice is coming. What questions do you have? And then B, Chris, I think you're the only one who's attended before. If there's anything you want to share or highlight or something that was helpful for you, you may gladly do so. And if you don't want to, that's okay too. I'll just put that out there for you. But let me open it up for questions. Does anybody have any questions on nuts and bolts kinds of things or on questions? Please, Bob, go ahead.
So, First off, I'm in Northwood's master program right now, but
Hey,
so I was glad to hear that we can stand there. Um, what if do we have to stay there? I mean, I live like 30 minutes away.
right.
And or is there something happening in the morning that we must be there for each morning, or can I go home at night and come back in the
Thank
morning?
you. Thank you. That is a great question. So you may go home at night. Absolutely. It is the same price for everybody. Um, so there isn't a price break for, okay, if you're commuting or if you're not commuting. I mean, it's a kind of a one type thing. It is important that you're there for the entire day, as long as the day curriculum lasts, right? Like, so there's a real commitment that we're asking people to make. You don't have to necessarily show up for the breakfast if you don't want to, but when we start with morning prayer, which is part of our time together and our formation, um, we're going to go right into the next thing and not only the teaching, right, and the practicing, but the worshiping is part of how we are being formed together, of course. And so we ask that you be there for the whole part of that. But you may gladly go sleep in your own bed and take a shower at your own house, and that is just fine.
Cool.
Yeah, definitely. Great question. Any other questions? There will be that question in the registration is if you need a room. There'll be a question about if there's any dietary restrictions or other allergies that we need to be aware of. And then do you need a room and are there any mobility challenges that anybody on your team has? We want to be sure to put those folks, if they're staying at Northwood, close to the elevators.
And it changes where your small group might be at the church
Exactly. Thank you.
so that we accommodate everybody.
I haven't said anything about the trainers, but we've just got some amazing trainers. Tracy is a trainer, and then we've got people from across the Episcopal Church that are going to be joining us. Some repeats and some new, and I am really excited. These are folks who are incorporating CCD into their ministry settings and have a vast experience with CCD and want to share in the joy of all of us learning. And there's a real sense of us all being practitioners. So clergy, just as kind of a sidebar, clergy and lay folks sitting side by side. There is not a hierarchy here, and we ask that clergy not wear their clerical vestments at all, no clergy collars or anything like that. We are all on the same footing, right? And we are all there as beloved children of God who are seeking to um, grow. And by growing, I mean not just numbers, but growing in our health, right? In our faithfulness and in our effectiveness for ministry. Paul, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'm just curious. So if people are doing and going into their second year, are they going to be here at that same time frame? Or are they?
Yes.
Oh, they are. Okay.
That is a great question. Thank you. So there is a little bit of overlap between years A and B, and that's primarily on the core models because we want to reinforce those models in different situations. And then there is a significant amount of new content in each year. And so everybody's meeting together, whether you are a first year or a second year. And then the small groups, depending on how many participants we have, you'll be with 2 or 3 other congregations in small groups with the trainer for part of the time as well, with a trainer. Yep. Great question.
And it doesn't matter whether you start with year A or year B.
Exactly.
It's just 2 years. Because we started when we started as trainers, we started with year B.
We did. Yep. Yep, Bob, go for it.
All right, and I
No.
apologize because when we first got on this call, which I was just even told about yesterday about this, I think.
Yeah, good.
And when we first got on, I was in the middle of preparing dinner for myself, so I missed a little bit of this.
That's okay.
This 2 year program, what is it for? What do we come out of this on the other end? What?
You got it. You got it. So, this is to kind of help our congregations, right? Look at where we are right now, where God is inviting us to go, and how we're going to get there. So, this is for congregations. It's for congregations of all sizes, right? Locations, conditions. It really is to help us take next steps in our ministry together. So, we're going to learn about ourselves as leaders. We're going to learn about some conflict resolution and how we deal with conflict. We're going to learn about how to do some outreach together in our neighborhoods, and to learn from the neighborhoods where our churches are located. We're going to learn about formational ideas. We're going to learn about a Benedictine rule of life and what that might look like in our churches. We're going to learn about different sources of transformation for our congregations and how we are being changed, and growing deeper in our faith. I recall that when I was doing clinical pastoral education in a hospital setting, my supervisor said, God loves you as you are, but God loves you way too much to leave you the same. And I loved that. I loved the way that he put that. And I think CCD is kind of similar to that in far the goals. Like, we are going to celebrate where we are as in our congregations, whether we are small or not so small. God, I mean, Jesus started with 12 people. Come on. So we're going to celebrate, right? Where we can celebrate, and we're going to learn from each other about where God's inviting us to go. So that's kind of the shorthand. Does that help?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
You absolutely. You're welcome. Anything else? Chris, you want to add anything or not?
I'm just scouting tonight because I'm trying to go through the Rolodex of who's new on my vestry or who's on the vestry that I might encourage. We might not make it this year, but I've got to start planting the seeds now to get them ready in case they, to kind of prime the pump. And we still have at St. John's all the wall hangings that were done in the various sessions. They are
Yes.
still in the conference room on the walls. And we still, every now and then we'll pull one down and use it for something in a vestry meeting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the material has lasted, and gosh, they've been back they were in the same cohorts as I was. So they've been back, what, 3 years, 2 years, 3 years already.
Yep. Yep.
And the material is still there and still being used, which is why I'm trying to figure out if there are new or other people, whether they're vestry or not,
Yep.
that I should strongly encourage.
Right. That's great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. One other component that just makes me think of one other component that after we get done teaching a model or a process for change, is we go through some options of how you might use this back in your parish, right? Like, would you use this for a strategy meeting? No, again, it's like my glasses, right? I only want to use my readers for when I'm reading my book, because if I had my readers on when I'm driving, we are in big trouble. They are just not gonna work. And so different kinds of models or different parts of the curriculum are going to help us in different ways. And so we're going to help you know which ones to kind of pull out of your toolbox when you're faced with different situations. You're going to plan a strategy meeting. Well, that might be a good time to pull out such and such. Okay. So we want to make this as user friendly as possible.
And we do have a clergy person who is a graduate of the program who continues to use this material. Every time there's a decision that needs to be made, she pulls out her CCD materials to figure out which model she needs to use in order to make that decision become a reality, which I find is really amazing.
Yeah, that's cool. All right. Well, please don't hesitate to contact me or Tracy, either one of us. I would love to hear from you if you've got questions. The diocesan email will be going out soon as far as registration. And I will also say this. I've had vestries ask me to join them on Zoom to kind of present what CCD is as they're looking at this as a possibility. I want you to know that I'm available to do that. If that would be helpful to kind of do a mini presentation to your vestry or church, church leaders or any kind of group that has more questions or wants to explore this. Please know that I'm here for you to do that. I can either make a trip or join you online or see what we can do together. So don't hesitate to reach out. I might not make it to Texas, but I'll try to make it pretty much anywhere else. All right.
Mhm.
And I'm just putting our 2 emails.
Yep, I put mine in.
Oh, you did?
Yep, I'm just
Oh, there it is.
two above
Okay.
you. Yep, great.
BJ, I'd just like to make a comment
Yeah.
with the fact that the deaneries are going to be up and running, and each has a dean uh, person leading. It
Yes.
would be good if those leaders, clerics, or whomever is
Yep.
leading those are aware of the time with CCD and maybe have a discussion in those deaneries.
You got it. You got it. So I'm also a dean.
Oh,
And so I
good.
meet with the deans, so they know. So thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
that. Thank you for that. Yes.
But it wouldn't be a bad thing because not all the congregations have clergy that. It would also be good to do that with the councils.
Yes.
Exactly. That's a
Yeah.
great idea. That's a great idea. We can share that to as the councils are meeting. Yep, we can definitely send out some information to them.
Cool.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chris. All right.
Anything else anybody has to say? Well, thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you for engaging in Gather, Transform, Send. Thank you for the many ways that you are serving the church as leaders across the diocese. And thank you for the questions that you brought tonight. Linda, will you send us out, please? Could you unmute before you do that?
Let us go forth into the world in peace to love and serve the Lord.
Thanks be to God. Peace
Thanks,
be with you
everybody.
all. Good night.
Good
Thank
night.
you.